Please welcome to the podium a man who is another of our greatest filmmakers, whom I know Abbas cherished and loved, and whom I'm most happy has agreed to join us here today, Martin Scorsese.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. I don't really know where to begin because it's been about 12, 14 years maybe that I knew Abbas. And we were supposed to be doing some sort of a project or a seminar. Last time we saw each other, we said, we'll be together again in February 2017. We were thinking of that. And over the past 12 or 14 years, we've met in different places around the world: Paris, New York, Marrakesh a lot. In Marrakesh, he'd have me come to some of these student gatherings that he had, or seminars, and then have me speak and then play tricks on me. In a way, in my mind, I'm still prepping for the meeting next year. I guess it's what happens with a great loss. I mean, you fall into the habit of thinking that someone's always going to be there, always in the future. Then the fact that they are absent, it hits you hard, and it keeps coming back. It won't go. The impact has been so strong. And I know I'll be thinking of Abbas in this way for some time to come, and I know you will be too. Simply, I consider, it's a weird thing, but I'm 73. He was a friend. He became a friend. Last time I saw him was in Lyon in October. It was Helen and I, my wife, and we're in a hotel. And he wanted to show me, before he left, these 24 frames, which was wild, on a computer. And if many of you haven't seen this stuff yet, maybe you must have, I'm not quite sure, but they are remarkable. And he said, I know you have not much time, you must get rest. I said, no, it's all right. No, I want to see, how many? Each one is 4 minutes, And the first I saw was the Andrew Wyeth, Christina's World. And I talked about King Vidor, and King Vidor is the big parade that Andrew Wyeth was inspired by, the hill and the big parade when John Gilbert comes back from the war. All of this that inspired the paintings of Wyeth and the Van Gogh, all of this stuff. And that was it. I said, I'll see you next year. We'll work this out. And that was the last time I saw him. I'd like to talk about the first time I met him, which was at Cannes. I was the president of a jury, the Cine Fondation, which is for student films, right? I forget the year, but it was the first time I met him. I think it was maybe 12 or 13 years ago. And I had seen by that time, over a period of a couple of years, 4 or 5 of his pictures, starting, the trilogy, the olive trees, all of that. But I hadn't seen Close-Up yet. Now, at an early age in my life, I was about 5 or 6, when I was exposed to Italian neorealist films, 1947, 48, whatever. And for many reasons, I was shocked by these films, by the purity and by the truth of the Italian cinema that I saw. The Open City, Paisa, Shoeshine, Bicycle Thieves. And I know Abbas loved these films too, I believe. Now, the interesting thing is, after I saw 4 or 5 of his films together over a period of a few months, I found that I experienced that same impact 65 years later. That it was something that just completely, just changed my way of looking at the world. And, now I'm the president of this jury. He's on the jury. There was some other nice people on the jury. And, because of the impact that these films had on me, I was a little cautious to meet him. I mean, we finally get together and say hello, and the whole group together, and I see this guy. He's cool, He's got those glasses on, you know. Didn't say anything. I'm saying, all right. You know, elegant, eloquent, very quiet, very careful with his words. You know, always thoughtful and always studying everything. But it wasn't cold. It was some other thing going on. Is what the heck is this? So we spent the first day. I forget how many days we had of looking at these films. We spent the first day looking. And quite honestly, I was in the middle of my own morass of making pictures, and there's lots of pressure and that sort of thing. We're in the carousel of Cannes, all that madness, New York, LA. And at the end of the first day, they all suggested that we get together and maybe I give some guidelines for the jury as to how to proceed, as to what we think would be a good film or not, et cetera, et cetera. And I did that. But I really had no idea. I just really had no idea what a criteria of judging. In the first place, judge a film is a problem. Now, judging student films, 20 a day, I didn't really know, and I babbled on for a little while. And I said, you know what, why don't we please give me till the morning. Let me see another group of these films till lunchtime tomorrow. Then maybe I'll get my head together in terms of just the jet lag, everything. And he was sitting there, and then he said, may I say something? I said, of course. He said, can I suggest that today many short films are made merely as examples of a story that the filmmaker wants to get to make into a feature in the commercial world. He said, what if we just experience these films as films in and of themselves, not made with any agenda? And I said, well, that's the man. That's the guy. I said, you got it. That's the way to go. You're right. You're right. I said, yeah, for me, what he was talking about really is the film itself, the experience itself, the film in and of itself, contingent on nothing but itself, has to stand on its own. And this was actually the kind of thinking and the way of seeing the world that I needed, and not only in cinema, but in my life, really. And what put us in the room in the first place was our love of cinema. We weren't there to have, to judge something for 3 days. It's not easy. It's not a pleasant task. But it was an extraordinarily difficult time. But our love of cinema is what put us in the room in the first place. Our love of film and our love of movies. And what does it mean to love movies, to love cinema? There are camera movements, there's editing, there's non-editing, angles, style, spectacle. And I guess to a certain extent that's all true. You take that into consideration. But all these things add to a certain love of cinema, right? But technique and technical sophistication affects us only to the extent that they help work to create simple, direct contact between the filmmaker and the audience. Really, because for us, or people who make film, who love film, cinema is life. And when I see Kiarostami's films, when I see The Olive Trees, when I see ABC Africa, Where is the Home of My Friend, or The Wind Will Carry Us, or any of these pictures, the last section of 5, the 5th episode, I think. I found that purity again. I found that I wanted to spend the time with the people in these films. It was like a cleansing to spend time with the spirit of those films, those worlds, the spirit of the artistry, which makes me see people in the world in a new, refreshing, and hopeful way. Yeah. Simplicity, we talk about simplicity with Kiarostami, of course, of us, but purity being the key, but it's not easy. Many of Abbas's features are complex. Taste of Cherry is very complex, and Certified Copy, which is a beauty, is certainly complex. But they're there to be peeled away to get to the essential core at the center. And I'm thinking of Close-Up. I've been thinking of Close-Up since I've seen it after that festival, which, by the way, we had a great time at. Became very good friends. I'm thinking of Sabzian. Is that how you pronounce it? Yeah. in close-up when he's speaking before the court about why he pretended to be Moshe Makhmalbaf. Quote, "They gave me their attention." He's talking about the family now that he deceived. "They gave me their attention and respect," he says of the family. Quote, "Because of my passion for cinema, and above all because they respected me and supported me morally, I really got into the part. It encouraged me to play the role better, to where I even felt I was a director. I really was. But when I'd leave and I'd head back home, I'd have to shed the character," unquote. You know, what he couldn't do in his everyday life, the life of a poor guy who couldn't even afford to buy his kids some treats, he could do that in the role of Makhmalbaf. And that is interact one-on-one with the members of the family without being judged or condescended to or ignored altogether. Through the experience of cinema, creating cinema, even without filming the camera, he exists and he matters. You know, why did he have to play the role of a director? Well, he could have been a businessman, but it's not about money. It's not about money. It's about mutual respect. It's about humanity. And it's really the cinema that's inspired him. It's maybe a definition of cinema itself. Maybe it's the reason why we create, to matter, to exist. So I'm so moved by this. I was so moved by that film. That was a complete change in terms of seeing the world again. I know I'm repeating myself, but it really is an extraordinary film. And I've recommended over the years and shown it at festivals. I looked at it again recently, right before this tragedy. Right, and then, you know, I've seen it many times. I'm thinking about it many times since we had the shocking, devastating news of this great artist's death. But when I think of Abbas's work, it is the cinema which ties us all together. And his cinema, Abbas's, for me, is a form of worship. It's an act of faith. So rest.